How's it going, guys? Welcome back into Rover Sports. It's literally been about several hours since everything went down yesterday with the 4 o'clock hour games. The 4 o'clock hour games yesterday taught us so much about where the NFL is, and it really was a microcosm of the NFC West and where that stage is. We learned so much about the Rams, the Niners, and the Seahawks progression. We also learned about the Arizona Cardinals, and it's really a changing of the guard in the NFC West. But I wanted to, there's probably about, 8 videos that I can make, and all 8-minute videos. And I might do a podcast with my guy, Jet Central, but I needed to talk about the LA Rams. I think that they're the biggest story in the NFL going right now, and I am going to make another video about Steelers Patriots and everything that went along with that game, and you guys can subscribe. The turnaround with the LA Rams is just incredible. I mean, I remember looking at Jared Goff tape last year, and the players literally quit on the team. And I remember that Falcons-Rams game last year at the Coliseum where it was 49-0. Atlanta Falcons. I remember watching Jared Goff against the New England Patriots, and the dude couldn't even get a first down. They couldn't even get a first down. I remember against the Saints last year, they allowed 500 yards. They were the 5th worst record in the NFL. If you played them against any team, even the Browns last year at the end of last year, they would have lost to them. They were trending. They were one of the worst teams at the end of last year that I've ever seen. They were fractured. They were as broken as broken. And Les Snead, he hadn't done anything in his career as a general manager. I was surprised that they retained him. The Jared Goff pick, the signing of these veterans, Mark Barron, switching positions. Gurley was good, but then he was just flat out terrible. He called the offense a high school offense. I'm like, is Todd Gurley a one-year wonder? I don't believe it. This Jared Goff guy, everybody was writing him off. He didn't have a strong arm. He put up tons of numbers at Cal. He's a local Cal guy. I wasn't quitting on Jared Goff, but I definitely didn't see Goff as a top 7 player that could be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Hell no. What Sean McVay has done, Todd Gurley, MVP candidate, best running back in all football. What he's done with Cooper Kupp, this guy out of Eastern Washington, drafting him in the 3rd round, Gerald Everett contributing. What he's done with Jared Goff, making him look unbelievably competent, like a guy who could play 12 years. If Jeff Fisher stayed 2 more years, Jared Goff would be out of football. He'd be Ryan Lindley selling real estate. I truly believe that. What Sean McVay did yesterday, going into Seattle, playing the MVP candidate Russell Wilson, a Hall of Famer Russell Wilson, who's playing at about as high of a level as ever, playing against playing against Bennett, Bobby Wagner, this defense. They went in there and went up 40-0. And even the greatest teams of all time, if I said, oh, you're going to go to Seattle and be up 40 on the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll, that would even be a tough feat for any NFL team to ever do, ever. And Sean McVay and these Rams, for them to bounce back against losing to the Eagles and to be up 40-0, it's remarkable. It's absurd. I mean, even if you told me before the year Seattle would be on their 3rd string quarterback, for me to say that the LA freaking Rams would be 10-4 and they'd be up 40 against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, I would say that person was more than smoking crack. I'd say that person was doing crack and taking mollies and doing anything and doing everything. I mean, I thought Sean McVay could be a really good coach. I think this could go down as one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of sports or the NFL. And that's not a hyperbole. I mean, taking Pharaoh Cooper, putting him with John Fossil, the job that Wade has done, he's made Les Snead look like a really good general manager. And him and Les Snead now are tied to the hip and going forward. I mean, it is just incredible. I mean, Wade Phillips, the job that they're doing now, I mean, I know Donald's talented, but Ogletree, they even lose like Webster, but then they have the safety. Oh my God, I forget his name, but he made an amazing play on the football in the first half yesterday. I think he's related to like an old NFL legend. I mean, I just, Tremaine's playing well. The defense is just totally awesome. Mark Barron and Ogletree. And, you know, you look at just the guys like Connor Barwin and signing Andrew Whitworth, you know, bringing in Watkins, Robert Woods, everybody buying in, Havenstein, John Sullivan, the offensive line. It's an incredible year. After the Arizona Cardinals game was when I thought that this Sean McVay and these Rams were actually a real threat to make the postseason. I mean, going up 40 in Seattle, it's amazing. And, you know, looking at the LA Rams, other than Bill Belichick, I to tell you the truth, for the next 10 years, if I could have any coach's stock, it would be Sean McVay. Out of anybody in the NFL, out of anybody in college, it's Sean McVay. This guy's a miracle worker. This guy relates to his players like we've never seen before. The consistency, he's 31 years old. And the crazy thing is about the LA Rams is that they're coming off just historically terrible, mediocre seasons. And they're going through this for the first time. And you watch all those players' interviews after beating Seattle, after pretty much, you know, locking up the division. And all of them are not even like ecstatic or stoked. They're just waiting. They have a Super Bowl mentality already in year one. And that's the craziest thing, is that these guys have a Super Bowl mentality and that they're not just like happy to just like do historic things and break the mold. Like, these guys legitimately believe that they can win a Super Bowl, and they're playing honestly like they have an opportunity to. I mean, I look at Jared Goff, and if you polled Eagles fans, if you polled Vikings fans, they would love to see Jared Goff and the Rams come play them in the playoffs. I'll tell you what, though, Sean McVay, it's about time that people really start respecting them, and I was dead wrong on this team. Even when the Rams, you know, beat the Cowboys and Greg Zuerlein hit all those field goals, I said, you know, this Rams team, it's still going to be 7-9, 6-10, 8-8. And I was dead wrong. I looked at Jared Goff. I looked at his limitations throwing the ball. I thought people were jumping to conclusions earlier in the season when they lost to the Rams by 6 earlier in the year and Jared Goff didn't look that good. I was like, see, told you so. I knew the Seahawks would win. But after the Cardinals game, after the Jags road game, I'm like, you know, this Rams team could be okay. And then just to watch them just roll through everybody. It's just been astonishing. And I would take Sean McVay over any coach for the next 10 years. I would. I mean, I don't love Jared Goff. I think he's okay. But looking at Todd Gurley, looking at these guys, I mean, the LA Rams should be a playoff team. The consistency is going to be great. And hopefully the guy can rise to the occasion in the playoffs now. And it's a weird infusion of veterans that are on this team. So I actually think that this would be a good time to take a swing. And why not LA? Why not go for a home run? Why not go for a chip? Why not do it? And it's amazing. And the Seattle Seahawks, their window, inconsistent personalities on that team. You know, with Sherman, you know, Michael Bennett. These are polarizing guys. Sheldon Richardson. If you're not rolling well, that team isn't going to get up for regular season games. It's a little bit, they're not as extreme as a Bengals culture, but they're a culture that, You know, if Russell Wilson, there's always a huge divide. Not everybody's pulling in the right direction. Carroll lets a ton of freedom go. He's lost his way with these players, you know, about controlling the locker room and everything. And even though Seattle, like, I still think that there's a chance that they can, like, get it together next year when they're healthy. Like, their window's practically over. I mean, the way that they came out against Carolina in that playoff game a couple years ago against Cam Newton going down 24-0, that was the sign of the end. And then in Atlanta, I was like, holy heck, Dan Quinn and these Falcons run circles around this defense, and that zone has been figured out. And the magic that they had, you know, they were a run team. They would struggle in the regular season, and then in Carolina and in Atlanta, that team just fell apart in the postseason. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense, inconsistent regular season play, letting teams go into Seattle and kind of beating them, not taking care of home field. And if they would have won that Super Bowl, though, with Malcolm Butler, it would have been 2 championships. It would have been a huge change. When you win that second championship, it does kind of make you like a dynasty. And I still look at Seattle. It's still a very impressive run with Pete Carroll and Wilson and Sherman and Chancellor. It really is. But week in and week out, their personalities, their effort, the way that they're coached is just, it's a combination of a lot of things. Maybe Wilson getting paid, beast mode getting old and leaving. I like Russell Wilson as a complimentary player, but once you decide to really be quarterback heavy and pay the guy big money, it's tough. It's a tough league to stay as consistent in. And yesterday was really the death knell of really Seattle in terms of them, I think, like going out and, you know, like winning it. It's weird. I still kind of trust Seattle. Like, I'm not ready to. It's just it's still such a tough place to play. But really, I think that LA just finally broke the Seahawks stranglehold on the division and things. And I mean, going forward, with the NFC this strong, I just don't think that they'll ever get back to that level. Maybe 1 year, but the consistency and everything is just about broken. And Pete Carroll, a little bit of an older guy actually, has about 2 to 3 more years. This whole thing could blow up for Seattle, and it's the complete opposite direction for a lot of these teams. So I really appreciate you guys listening to this one. LA Rams fans, congrats, and it's been a heck of a ride for you guys.